have Heather Amos here for an interview to talk about Alice and various other things. Welcome, Heather. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. So tell us about Alice. What did you find interesting about this part that you decided to do it?
I like that it was a silent film, not just because I wouldn't have to learn dialogue, but I think there's something to be said about facial expression and just use of emotion. Body
language.
Yes.
Were there any unusual challenges involved that you didn't expect, or that maybe the crew didn't expect while working on a silent and trying to convey certain emotions?
Not really.
So everything went pretty smoothly.
Background sound, and there was a lot of, we were shooting in a grocery store, and so all the people working and stuff decided they needed to be featured extras, so there was some entertaining things happening.
So how did you get permission to film in a grocery store?
It was in Chris Sedin's hometown. He was a director, and I think his parents knew the owners, or he somehow knew the owners of the store, and they agreed to let us film there. They thought it was really, really exciting.
Did you film late at night, or?
Yeah, it was pretty late at night.
Oh, okay, so there weren't, it wasn't like filled with customers
people
or
there,
like that.
no.
Yeah, okay. Something for other film students to take note of in case they want to shoot in a grocery store. Tell us about this. This is a very deep, very very multi-leveled kind of story. Give us your take on Alice and what you felt she was going through. Because for the viewer, we're just kind of dropped in on her life, and we come out of it with her doing better. But how did they prepare you for?
Well, Alice is a young woman struggling with depression, and she attempts suicide, and then she ends up regretting that and gets like one little note from a friend. You don't even know who that person is necessarily in the film, but it just kind of reminds her that life is worth living, and it's actually very close to an experience I had when I was younger, so it wasn't that hard to prepare for. It was actually a little bit difficult kind of going back to some of those places for me emotionally. But I think it's something that a large majority of the population has at some time experienced, but not always talked about.
So tell us about how you got into acting originally.
I think I was just kind of born wanting to perform.
So you started very young.
Yeah, and it's really weird. I was always extremely shy, but get me on stage doing something and I was like a whole different person. And I've always been drawn to the psychology of playing other people. I actually toyed with the idea of becoming a psychologist. So just getting the chance to figure out what goes on in all these people's heads without actually doing all the things that they do.
And you model too.
Yeah.
When did you start modeling?
I actually, I think I was around 17, my mom had taken me to this modeling school around where we live because I wanted to take acting classes, and it was the only place that I could, and they only had like 2 on-camera acting classes, and it was kind of frustrating because I wanted to act, but then I was like tall and thin, so they're like, you need to be a model, you can't eat anymore, and it's not, I don't know, a lot of people think it's just really amazing life, but I've always found it pretty vacant. I mean, no offense to people that model. I've done a lot of work that I really like, but it's just, I don't know. And I think a lot of that is because I'm an actress. I can kind of bring stuff out in photos, where it's more like I'm playing a character. But I don't know, I don't ever have any desire to be an America's Next Top Model. I'm too old and too short, and I don't know, I'm not really attracted to that lifestyle. But it was a good gateway.
What parts of modeling do you think reflect back on acting that you might have learned from, that maybe somebody who never models but is an actor could benefit from?
I learned a lot just about different makeup techniques, which also came in handy when I was taking stage makeup in college. A lot about poise and composure.
Okay. We've run a couple of your other student films, Third Party 08 and Who is Landon Banks? And I loved your characters in both of them. Tell us a little bit about your character in Third Party 08, where you're like a political staffer, and the whole process of that. Was there anything interesting involved in that whole shoot?
That was a fun shoot. It was just kind of the spur of the moment thing where some students at MCAD got a hold of a red camera. And so they're like, let's make a movie. And it was Halloween. And they sent out the script a few days before. And it was right before the election, like I think within a week of the election. So it was very timely. And it's the story of this third-party presidential candidate who runs and basically has no chance of winning. But it's actually one of my favorite projects.
Yeah, a lot of people here who saw that were like, "Oh, she's really good. She does a good job in that." So it's always nice to, and it's such a different character than the one you play in the other short. And then of course in Landon Banks, who was Landon Banks, you're yet another different character, sort of a crazed casting person who finds it amusing when Landon finally, well, one of the Landons finally snaps and starts killing the other two Landons. That was a spur-of-the-moment thing, too?
Yeah, actually another friend of ours was supposed to play the role, but she just didn't feel like doing it. And so she's like, Landon, take Heather, because we had all been at another event right before. And Landon's like, Heather, you want to be in a movie? And he's my best friend, so I rarely tell him no.
Oh, and you also enjoy doing plays.
I actually got I studied theater in college. I mean, I did plays from when I was little to college. And
so you did all your plays?
I came here and I kept auditioning for theater and just not getting anywhere. And I always wanted to do film, but I'd never really been anywhere where there was any kind of film scene. I mean, Iowa and North Dakota aren't exactly.
So you did your theater stuff in Iowa? You went to school in Iowa?
No, I actually went to college in North Dakota.
Oh, North Dakota,
Yeah.
okay.
And so I went to this audition at MCAD and for a class project and got like the first audition I went to, and then I just started doing more film. And I'm trying to get back into theater, but not having a good response. So,
well, stick with it. Stick with it.
I miss the aspect of having a live audience and memorizing tons of dialogue.
Well, Heather, thanks so much for being here. I enjoyed running Alice, and I'm sure everybody enjoyed watching it, and we enjoyed chatting with you. Thanks so much. All right, next up we have Cabin Coffee, a cautionary tale about being nice to the person who's fixing your drink.